Ho, ho, ho. A Merry Christmas from me and from Engine DIY Shop. This is their new live steam engine with reversing gear, a generator, and even an illuminating lamppost. Engine DIY kindly sent me this live steam engine to review. It's their latest model, just launched this Christmas. Check out Engine DIY to get your own. Come with me as I descend into my lair. Yeah, now this is the basement of our watermill. This is where I do my filming, as you can see. Ooh. And this is the room that you've probably never seen before very much, where I keep my trusty motorbikes and bicycles. That's the Bultaco, that's the Solex, and that's my Tucano Monster bike. Ooh, and that's my Coracle. But in here is my workshop. Let's switch on the lights and find them. There we go. Turn on the breaker. Ta-da! And come over here and I'll show you my favorite new engine. This is the Engine DIY kit. Hot bulb. Actually, it's a 4-stroke petrol engine. And it runs really well. Let's just run it. It purrs like a kitten, as you can clearly see. It's a thing of beauty. However wonderful this engine is, it could be better. It has two annoying problems that me and a number of people who love this engine have fixed. A big shout out to Aid Swash and the people at the Engine DIY Facebook page who've come up with two solutions to an inherent problem that this engine has. Let me explain. So originally the engine has something called a Hall sensor. Here's a better example of a Hall sensor. It's a magnetic switch that when a tiny magnet goes past it, it closes a contact and fires the ignition unit. Unfortunately, me and everybody else with this wonderful engine have discovered that this Hall sensor is very sensitive to electronic spikes that comes from the ignition unit, and they work out of the box and then fail. This is my third Hall sensor, so I've come up with a way, thanks again to Aid Swash, of dumping the Hall sensor and going for a very simple switch. And here it is. It's a cam working a micro switch on a little arm, as you can clearly see. And the cam has a grub screw in it, so you can alter the timing to be just in advance of top dead center at the 4-stroke cycle. And when the micro switch closes, that's enough to put a signal to the ignition unit and fire the spark plug. It's great, it's robust, and doesn't bust like the Hall sensors do. I can see why Engine DIY Kit put a Hall sensor on this engine, but the robust micro switch, much better. I've run it for days now and it just starts up and keeps going. There's no electricity going to the switch. It's just making and breaking a contact at the right point of the cycle to fire the ignition unit. It's so good. But the engine has two more problems. First of all, a tiny one. It has a water jacket and a pump. You can see the pump working there. that pumps and circulates water around the cylinder and into a radiator, which is this curl copper tube, and into this, which is the reservoir. But unfortunately, the input for the reservoir is too near the top, and when it's running, water, instead of going into the reservoir, splashes out. So I've made a simple cap which goes on the top modification. And I keep the best to last. The engine comes with a very simple carburetor. All you can adjust is the fuel, and the air is unregulated. Copying plans I made from Aid Swash, I made this air regulator. He got the plans from the Engine DIY Facebook page. What it is a simple way of regulating the air supply with a screw, and this took me less than an hour to make on a small hobby lathe, and it's just a press fit into the existing carburetor. It's just a hollow tube with a screw in it and a hole. That's all it does, but you can alter the screw, so altering the amount of air that's going into the mixture. So let's run the engine now and hear it working. Switch on the ignition, and there she runs. So the micro switch is bouncing up and down, making a signal to the ignition unit, which is producing a spark. And the air regulator lets me run the engine really slowly, or I can open it up, and it runs faster. This really is a super engine. I like its size, I like its power. Let's open her right up. You could actually use this to run things with. It's a good, powerful, simple, one-cylinder, four-stroke engine running on petrol or gasoline. It works great. Let me show you there's the splashy guy, and with a lid on, no splashy. This engine makes me happy. The modifications that were suggested to me by Aid and people on the Engine DIY Facebook page make me very happy. Here's a simple back of an envelope drawing of how the cam ignition works. It costs almost nothing. I got 10 micro switches for $10 or 10 euros. And if you do have a simple lathe, you can make a variable carburetor air intake, and that lets you run, as you saw, the engine much slower and regulate it. It comes unregulated, and that's a big addition to this beautiful model. There's a link in the description. The thing that's really good about this engine is it works out of the box, but you can make it better. We love tinkering. Here's some footage of the engine running.